Get this on just so, because I know everybody wants to hear me say this. I hereby call the special meeting of August 26, 2025 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck.
Here.
Vice Mayor Crawford. Mayor Pro Tem Finn.
Here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Blue.
Here.
Mayor Beck, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Our only item on the agenda today is to call for executive session. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Mayor, I move we go to executive session as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Sounds like I have a second and third. Please vote. Using your cool little remotes that everybody has.
Is that right? Again? No?
And it passes 6-0. We will enter into executive session. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Peoria City Council meeting. I hereby call the meeting of August 26, 25 to order. We will be holding off on the study session tonight and moving right to regular agenda. For those who are able, please stand for the invocation by Pastor Rosalinda Kirkdahl for Fresh Start Church, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I ask God for you to release life and blessing over the city of Peoria. I confess the word of God. Job 22, verse 28 says to decree a thing and it shall be established. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. As I confess a word of blessing, I believe you, Father, are cleansing the city of Peoria by washing of the water of your word so that Peoria will be without spot, wrinkle, blemish in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord, that you are active and alert and watching over your word to perform it. Today, I prophesy blessing and life over the city of Peoria, over the government, judicial, and educational authorities, over every man, woman, and child in the name of Jesus. I confess that the blessing of the Lord is causing them to prosper in anything they put their hands to. I declare that the blessing of God will run and overtake them because they obey the voice of the Lord their God. They are blessed in the city. I confess that you open to them the windows of heaven and pour out an abundance of finance, blessing, and revival rain. I confess you bless the work of their hands, and I declare that the love of God is shed abroad in their hearts by the Holy Ghost. I confess that out of God's fullness and abundance, they are supplied with one grace upon another, spiritual blessing upon spiritual blessing, favor upon favor, and gift upon gift. You have given me the keys to the kingdom, and whatever I bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever I loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. To every person in and around the city of Peoria and anyone who sits themselves in opposition to the plan of God in this city, I release mercy against all forms of judgment. I release God's love against all forms of manifestations of fear and anger. I release blessing where there has been cursing. I release the spirit of truth to lead and to guide you into all truth. Where there has been deception, I release life against all death. I release light against all darkness, and I release the peace, soundness, and unity against all strife and division and confusion. I release health against all infirmity. I release an abundance of wealth against all lack, and I release God's favor against all forms of rejection. I release the kingdom of righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost against the kingdom of this world and darkness. I release the commission, and I ask that God, you would commission your angels to hearken to the voice of your word. I speak blessing, praying for the welfare, happiness, and protection, and truly loving this city of Peoria. Peoria is a lighthouse, a beacon shining and radiating the glory of God in the midst of darkness. And I decree that the city of Peoria is blessed in the name of the Lord who made the heavens and the earth, in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Crawford. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Finn.
Here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Bullock.
Here.
Mayor Beck, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If anyone would like to address the council about a matter, this is the last call to submit a speaker request form at this time. We will now move to the regular agenda. Regular meeting consent agenda, all items listed on the consent agenda are routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion unless request for removal has been prior approval. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I have a
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. We will now move to the regular agenda and to introduce new business. Now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin to introduce 16R.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, we only have one item on the regular agenda this evening, and it's related to the state land purchase and an adjustment that's necessary to our budget to address some administrative fees associated with the state auction. We have with us this evening Mike Faust and Kevin Burke, both deputy city managers, to make the presentation. Thank you.
Is that on? Manager Darwin, Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Kevin and I are going to go through a couple of slides tonight just to talk through the details of item 16R, which is preparations for tomorrow's public state land auction that the city is intending to participate in. So I'm going to do a couple of summary slides, and then Kevin's going to jump into some of the details and the very specific reason we're here. But let me just start with this. Development of state trust land has long been a standing strategy of the city for an economic development standpoint. And what better way to do that than to create shovel-ready projects by the city participating in a public auction to bring lands to market. So tonight we're going to specifically talk about the Core 2 property. So this is a subset of the overall Peoria Innovation Core. It's depicted here on the map. This is the actual image from the auction flyer that was put out by State Land. So I'll do a quick intro on the auction itself, and then Kevin's going to get into the details and present the very specific item that you are reviewing and discussing this evening. So first, let me highlight that the state land purchase, which is in the Capital Improvement Program, Project ED 34, has been in the capital improvement budget for 2 cycles. So we first put it in FY25 when we started to investigate the airport as a possibility, and then extended that into FY26 with the eventual application that we did for this property. By way of public auction sale number, you'll see the number that's listed there because there's a very specific process the state follows, and I'll go through that in a slide in a second. The image of the property depicts 834 acres in total. It's bounded by the Loop 303 on the south. It's bounded by the CAP on the north. On the east end, it extends to the intersection point between the CAP and the 303. And the western boundary is the end of a section line, essentially the end of state land property, which is just west of the Agua Fria. Totaling 834 acres. We're estimating about 600 acres of that is developable land. If you know the area well, you know there's encumbrances with a slope that exists on the eastern boundary just west of Loop 303. Then you have the Agua Fria, the river bottom, and some open space there that will be undevelopable. The minimum bid is $46.7 million. Kevin will walk us through the down payment to get into that. But the minimum bid was established by a professional appraiser contracted by the state, conducting that bid and deriving that value. It is also important to note that the project will include all rights of way. So what that means is the rights of way for future roadways like 96th Avenue, Ashlar Hills, expansion of Lake Pleasant Parkway are all part of the bid and will be conveyed by the successful bidder to the city for rights to construct roadways. Although a little tough to see because of the color scheme, the process that lies at the top is the sequential steps you run through to bring a piece of state land to auction. So when some folks might say that the city is rushing to do this project, this is not a project you can rush through in any sense of the imagination. We've actually started this thinking 2 or 3 years ago, but the actual process to bring land to auction started on December 2nd. The city put in an application with the state land department to bring this property to market. Beyond that, after that application was accepted by the state, there's a title review that happens, and then a planning agreement is entered into. So the state land says, hey, in order to bring this land to market, we need you to do due diligence. So the planning agreement dictates the due diligence efforts that are required of the applicant. And then those are set as reimbursable expenses. In this particular case, there's 3 primary due diligence requirements that were set by the state. The first one is a cultural survey, so you could go out and see what level of cultural artifacts might be present. And that's really a report that's written by an archaeologist to determine what studies have been done previously, and then write a report, return it to the State Historic Preservation Office, as well as the Arizona State Museum. The second one is an environmental study, so you go in to see if there's environmental issues with the property. Was there previous work done out there that there might be contaminations and stuff? Since nothing had been built out there, there was nothing. And the third one is an ALTA survey, which sets the boundaries of the property so they know exactly what they are going to appraise and if the successful bidder would actually acquire. Then, once state land has all that information, they send it out to an appraiser. Appraiser values the land. Then that comes back and goes to an appraisal review board. So you see, we started this in December. The planning agreement came in March. The appraisal review board met on June 13th. And then, as required by state law, the auction is publicly noticed for 10 weeks. That public notice period ended on Friday, 8/22. They usually do the auction that Wednesday after the period closes. Hence, the auction is occurring Wednesday noon tomorrow. This process is a highly governed process. It's governed by Arizona State Constitution, the AZ revised statutes. I've already gone through the due diligence efforts that are there. But in addition to the required due diligence that was put on us by the state, our team then also went out and did our own due diligence. We wanted to understand, what is it going to cost to bring it to market? What is the cost of the public infrastructure? It is important to note that the public infrastructure portion of this project does have an interconnectivity with the intergovernmental agreement that the council approved unanimously on December 17th, where the city is reimbursed for the cost of public infrastructures by a successful bidder. But as somebody bidding on the property, we really needed to go in and understand, how would we develop the property? What would be our strategy to bring it to market? So we made sure that we could have a good development strategy that would get us to a point of profit or at least break even, so we could bring shovel-ready projects to market at a predictable rate.
Very good. All right, I'll pick it up from there. Once again, as Mr. Faust noted earlier, the appraised value is $46.7 million. This is again a state requirement that they sell state property at market value. Market value is determined by an appraisal. The appraisal is at $46.7 million. To even be a bidder in this auction, you have to bring to the table a minimum check of $6,212,000, and that composes of a 10% down payment for the property based on the $46.7 million, another 3% in administrative fees, and then some other fees associated with it. The council did great work, and staff as well, in determining what the value might be. For this, we budgeted $4.8 million, which is right in line with 10% of $46.7 million. The problem we didn't do as good was estimating what the fees would be associated with this. And so we are here tonight to ask for that delta between the $4.8 million that's in the CIP and the $6.2 million needed to get to the table to bid on the auction. We're required to design and construct public infrastructure as defined in the public infrastructure letter. So it's not just a buy and hold land. You actually have to move forward with bringing infrastructure into that element. And then the next part is about entering into a participation agreement. So whoever the winning bidder is must enter into an agreement with the state on how that land will be developed and brought forward into production. And that has guidance on land development and profit share on net proceeds of land. So there is a part of this agreement that says if the city were to turn around and sell the land and it was to make a net profit on it, those proceeds would be split 50-50 between the state and the city. Another important part of that participation agreement and this ties back to an agenda item at last council meeting, was authorize representative to sign documents prior to auction. The amendment to Council Policy 3.1 granted the city manager authority to sign. I think there's some concerns from folks in the public about some power grab. Really, this is an administrative procedure that was necessary so that we had a single point that could sign these administrative documents associated with the auction. And so this fulfills that. The property comes as is with all faults, all existing easements, reservations, and right-of-ways. So we get it as it is and work from that standpoint going forward. And again, immediately after the auction, the participation contract must be signed and all rights-of-ways are conveyed. So there's a lot of administrative procedures associated with just acquiring the land. Now, if we are successful as a municipality at the election, the 10% and the 3% administrative fees, among others, are already in their possession. In return, we get what's known as a certificate of purchase, a CP. That essentially, it's kind of like the keys to the car, but the bank will still keep the title. And that's what happens is state land, if you want to receive the deed, you got to pay the other 90%. And so what will happen for the city to move this land into production, we would submit a partial patent application for each portion or sub part of this 834 acres. We'll submit a partial patent application. It has to be a minimum of 20 acres. And we pay essentially the other 90%, but you actually pay 101% of the auction price per acre to be patented. That's just a rule of their of state lands and their procedures, and you get that back at the very end when you tie out for the actual bid price. But at the front end, they tend to over-collect. I don't know, Mike, if you want to speak more on that one.
No, I think the point is that they don't want folks taking land down and essentially leaving undevelopable land behind in case somebody was to default. And they want to make sure that the accounts stay whole. So essentially, is you'll get your 10% will apply. It's usually on the back end of the transactions rather than on the front side.
And as just noted, that last bullet there about must also patent a proportional amount of undevelopable land. It's just that, as you noted in one of the earlier slides, there's about 600 acres of developable land and then a total of 835. So we've got some pieces that are not developable. You can't just leave those behind and only take down the good ones. The state requires you to take a proportion of those undevelopable lands and patent them with each takedown you do of the good land, let's call it. So in addition, there is interest. So you only have to put 10% down. When you do finally pay the other 90%, you have to pay interest on that unpaid portion. Again, the car loan or the house loan, same idea is that you have an outstanding balance. You got to pay interest on that outstanding balance back to the bank, in this case back to state land. That rate is the secured overnight financing rate, the SOFR, plus 4.5%. That's running at about 8.83% this week. So we would pay that at the time of patent. So those are some costs that we can expect in the future if we are successful in acquiring the auction and when we want to take it to our next step of subdividing or developing.
Before Kevin jumps onto the other one, we're aware of the questions that get raised and the speculations of city participating in a public auction. But I think the CIP item's been very clear and the direction from council has been clear to go acquire shovel-ready projects. And that's the intent. So I want to be very clear to the community that per the direction of council, staff is going out and we have every intention of participating in this auction. The second question that we've heard raised sometimes is, how can the city be competitive and how can they advance if they're not the only bidder, if there are other bidders? And we intend, if other bidders go, we believe we have very clear direction from council on an approach and a strategy to go be competitive and to win an auction. So it is our goal. It's not a hope and desire. Hope is not a strategy. Prayer is. But it is our goal tomorrow to go be successful at the auction and return back to you shovel-ready projects ready for economic development.
Very good. Oops, I just
Yeah, that's
I guess that was it. All right.
That's it.
Sorry, I had more slides
Just-
from
you can
another
close it.
presentation, apparently. All right, so the staff recommendation for council is to approve a contingency budget transfer in the amount of $1.412 million to pay administrative costs and fees required for participation in Arizona State Land Department auction. If there's any questions? Okay.
What's your call? Or do you guys have it? Got it?
All right.
Thank you. Comments?
I apologize. Ruthie Gold Cove?
Ruthie Goldcorn.
Okay.
My apologies for my handwriting.
Oh, no
It is
worries.
Awful. I can't hold that. How do you do that? That's really bad.
Okay.
Not an accommodation. Not an accommodation. Sticking a microphone in someone else's face is not an accommodation. You are required to have accessible seating and you don't, and an accessible podium and you don't. Can anyone hear me? I'll lower my mask. Good evening. My name is Ruthie Goldcorn. I've lived in the city for about 3 years now, and I am no stranger to land acquisitions and development coming from Southern California. And it is understood that you're building this in close proximity, if not on top of, an aquifer. According to information from the USGS, the U.S. Geologic Survey, building around an aquifer can have significant environmental and social consequences. Water quality degradation. Construction activities can lead to contamination of the aquifer from pollutants such as chemicals. We know all about PFAS. People die from PFAS. Sediments and waste. It is known to leach into the aquifer, and you all have already shut down 2 wells. Now, as far as increased runoff from impervious surfaces can introduce additional harmful substances to the groundwater. You know this. This is not your first rodeo nor ours. Over-extraction of groundwater for construction and subsequent use can deplete the aquifer, leading to reduced water availability for ecosystems and communities. This can result in a subsidence where the ground sinks due to the loss of water support. We saw this in Florida when that condo tower fell down. That was subsidence. The 105 freeway in Los Angeles, subsidence. The building tower in San Francisco that is falling down, subsidence. I could go on, but I know you get the point. Ecosystem destruction is important. It's not running around, oh, they're just a bunch of tree huggers. It's incredibly important to our environment. Aquifers often support surrounding ecosystems. What study or studies have been done to evaluate this issue for the new location? Building around them can disrupt habitats and threaten local flora and fauna. We don't have enough trees to begin with. And as for the legal disputes, you know all about them. The reality over water rights and usage in areas with competing interests for water, like keeping neighborhoods, communities, the environment, and people alive. All Peorians will bear this taxation without representation. I encourage you stridently to reconsider where you're going to put this development. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, ma'am. Shannon Semo.
Hello. Fellow conspiracy theorist of the city, I would like to, I understand that it's been planned for quite a while, this land acquisition. Oh, I understand that, well, conspiracy theorist, just so everybody knows, I understand that it was planned for a while, but it was a plan and it was only in theory. Now we're to the point where it's no longer a theory and now it's going to happen. In terms of due diligence, where are the citizens able to access the environmental report or any other reports related with the due diligence? Is there public information for that? Anybody? It says questions.
Yep.
No?
Comments.
Okay. So I was just wondering if it would be possible for us to be able to see an environmental survey. I also know that that particular area over there is next to the canal. That could be also problematic. I understand that this is important to everybody here. It pads resumes. It helps you go on to bigger and better things. But I'm asking you to consider, because we all know it's going to end up being put on it. And I'm asking you to consider the future and what these things brings. Widespread cell phone usage is just a recent thing, believe it or not, smartphones. It's like since 2007, 2010, and the influx really happened in 2010. And we've seen the way our society has become. And it's more surveilled. Kids are always on a phone. We're always on the phone. I understand that it's a national security issue and that we're competing with China, but ultimately in the end, at what cost? So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Mr. Edward Molina.
Good evening. My name's Edward Molina. I live in North Peoria. Can you hear me now? My name's Edward Molina. I live in North Peoria. I have been a lifelong resident since 1953 or 54. I've lived here in the West Valley and specifically Peoria since 1959. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this project finally coming to fruition. I can't tell you how excited I am about welcoming all of my new friends to this valley. Everybody that moved here from other places, and most of you have moved here from other places. I thank you for coming. I thank the council for moving forward on this. And as a member of the Economic Development Board, the Industrial Development Authority, and the Downtown Redevelopment Working Group for the City of Peoria, I am excited about the potential business tax revenue this is going to generate to continue to provide you all of us citizens of Peoria, with the resources to accommodate the public safety, the parks and rec, all those good things that we all want. I appreciate all the work that the City Council and the staff have done into bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve agenda item 16R?
Mayor, I vote that we approve motion 16R as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. I now recognize City Manager Mr. Henry Darwin.
I have no report this evening.
Okay. I will give short remarks here, and then we'll go to other non-agenda public comments. Thank you. So I realize there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the process. I feel like the council, and if you go back to the history of what we've actually worked on, what we ran on, what we've tried to accomplish in the last years, 8 months, give or take. The staff has worked incredibly hard and tried to provide as much information as humanly possible. From an openness and transparency standpoint, all of this has come to fruition to what is hopefully going to take place tomorrow. So I realize that not everybody is going to agree with one direction or another, but this is the path that the city is on, and this is the future not only for the city of Peoria, but also the entire West Valley. And the amount of jobs and everything else like that that hopefully is created from this direction, economic development, is going to be for the betterment of the community. With that, we will do public comment. Next on the agenda is the call to the public. As a reminder, the purpose of public comment is to allow speakers to share their comments on issues important to them. Speakers should be polite, refrain from profanity, and respect the 3-minute time limit for their comments. Members of the audience should respect the rights of speakers and fellow audience members and conduct themselves in a courteous manner and tone and not disturb the meeting. By state law, the council is not authorized to discuss among its members or take any action raised by public comment until a later meeting. With that, Mr. Jeff Orr.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Jeff Orr, and I'm the CEO of In Demand Leadership and a citizen of Peoria. And in a city such as ours, I recognize that we have a wide variety of views as to what's important to our city. But one thing that we do have in common is that we want strong families, we'd like strong marriages, we want our children to be healthy and to grow up to have families of their own. We expect our lives to be long and fruitful, and we expect our leaders to do right by us and our city. Now, what holds us, and particularly our leaders, to such a high and lofty standard? Some might say, well, the law holds us to that standard, or ethics holds us to that standard, perhaps religion. Now, I know in a room like this, we have quite a view of spirituality and different beliefs. Some people in here don't believe in any God whatsoever. There's no afterlife, and so therefore we as human beings are the pinnacle on the food chain, right? There's some here that believe in an afterlife, but not quite sure how that really applies to anything. Well, I have the mic, so I'm going to tell you what I believe and how it applies to leadership. I believe in the God of the Bible, and I believe that all of us will be held accountable to Him for how we live our lives, the decisions we make, the words that we say. Now, how this applies to leadership. If I'm wrong, and there is no God, when we die, we won't even know that we lived. So therefore, the decisions that we make now are only important to right now. However, if I'm right, and there is a God to whom we are accountable to, then every decision that we make has long-lasting impact, and that should give us pause, especially as leaders. We are held to a higher standard as leaders in the things that we do, the behavior, our words, the things that we say, the decisions that we make, because we have greater influence over other people. The decisions that we make do not just impact us. It impacts hundreds of people every day. You know this. Now, the mayor and council, you've made a decision to bring a known polluting factory into our city. And the effect of those pollutants may not be readily seen or felt, but they will be felt. People will get sick. People will get cancer. Families are going to be broken and damaged by this. You may think that when your term is done, it's all over. Your responsibility is done. But I say this with all humility. You will be held accountable to God for the impact that you're bringing to the citizens who are trusting you to protect them. I really wish I had more encouraging things to say to you. I really do. I really do. I pray that you will make some wise decisions this week. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your... Teresa Christensen.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Christensen, as you already know. I am the founder and CEO of Bright Beginnings Preschool and Childcare, and I am not here for any other reason except for well, two actually, to express my gratitude to Vice Mayor Crawford and to Councilman Bullock for their recent tour of the Glendale System of Care. I want to express obviously how impactful seeing them there was, and to see a repurposed school. I know that that's something that the city of Peoria is currently grappling with, and to offer my assistance. And after 30 years of being in early childhood education, I think that it's an area of expertise that I can offer to this council. The other thing that I wanted to express, Mr. Marbeck, was my gratitude. I was one of your first constituents that you took up meeting with coffee. We didn't exactly have coffee, but you took the opportunity to let me get to know you. And I would encourage this entire room, although your schedule would probably not allow it, to get to know the human behind the mayor. I know that the load that you carry is significant, and making decisions for an entire municipality cannot be easy. What I can offer to you this evening is the 30 years of shaping early child education and early child systems. It's not an easy language, but I'm willing to teach every municipality in the West Valley, and here's why. Economic development. If we do not solve the child care crisis for the West Valley, it will become crippling. And every good thing that you have done, whether these individuals in this room see it or not, will fall, because families need affordable childcare. And that solution looks different for every family. And I'm here to help. What I will send to every council member, I promise you, is your inventory shortage of what you lack in inventory for childcare for your specific district. I've done it for Glendale, and I can do it for Peoria. I'm going to do it for every West Valley city so that you truly understand the issue, and that you understand that you have somebody who is on your side that can help you answer those questions, or at least get you started on where to ask. I'm joined by my son, and just a proud mom moment. 27 years ago, he was the reason why I became an early childhood education professional. So we all have an origin story that's powerful, and I use it every day to fuel my fire and my passion. So thank you so much.
Thanks, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Steve Riggins.
Hey, Mayor Beck, City Council, thank you for letting me speak. Steve Riggins, 6-year resident of Estancia. It wouldn't be a City Council meeting unless we brought up Amcor. So I just want to encourage you. I've heard some rumors. They were good rumors for us that you may be actively looking to place Amcor in the pick. I don't know that officially, but we've heard that. We're kind of excited about that. And I just want to let you know the residents of Estancia are still very interested in what's going on with Amcor, and we just hope that you guys are doing all you can to resolve what we think is our major issue in Estancia. So that's really all I want to say. I think most of the people here, a lot of people here, are interested in that subject. I think that's why it's full here. So we're very apprehensive, but we're hopeful that you guys can figure this out. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thanks for your comments, sir. Kathy Bartelheim. I said it right.
Can you guys hear me?
Only took 18 times.
First of all, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Matt Bullock. When Belinda, Cheryl, and I contacted you about our need for additional cell towers in Estancia, you immediately responded and have given us confidence that we will receive the cell service we desperately need. Having to call 911 11 times due to no signal for a fire across from my home in Blackstone is unacceptable. We're grateful. Thank you. Now, on to Amcor. I've spoken repeatedly here regarding our concerns about water usage during our extreme drought and the forever toxic chemicals in our water. Arizona is going to lose 18% of the Colorado River allocation this year, and Lake Powell is running dangerously low. Amcor is now requesting to use even more water per day. What's mind-blowing is that while you, our city council and mayor, were pursuing 3M and other multinational corporations for the contamination of our city water, resulting in the closure of 2 city wells for testing over the federal limits for forever toxic chemical contamination, which I find so hard to believe. You, without any citizen input, approved Amcor to be a blight in the middle of the #1 planned community in all of Arizona, and adjacent to our homes and a school, also knowing full well that Amcor uses forever toxic chemicals in their processes. Multiple requests to the city for a list of the contaminants in our very own drinking water have been ignored. Hello, Aaron Brockovich. Amcor stated that they would have town hall starting in April to answer questions from residents, yet here we go with false promises. They've only had webinars without the ability for dialogue. Is the city requiring Amcor to be contractually obligated to do what they state they're going to do in these webinars? They say that eventually they will have a partial closed loop system for water usage, but is the city going to hold them accountable? You represent us and are elected to do what is in the best interest of your constituents. Do you honestly believe that this huge monstrosity belongs in a residential neighborhood? And I'd like everybody to look at me while I'm speaking. I'm taking my time here to speak to you, and you're not even looking. Thank you. Most residents are not opposed to economic development, but what needs to happen is development done responsibly and not at the expense of local communities. Our group, Citizens for Smart Growth, continues to grow because people feel blindsided, frustrated, misled. We've lost our trust, we feel like we've been sold out, and we are angry. We are again asking you to do the right thing for the people you represent and the health, safety, and well-being of the residents. Please relocate Amcor out of Estancia. Thank you.
Don McCartney.
Can you all hear me? Okay. So to the mayor, the council members, and hopefully most of my neighbors, I realize I may sound like a broken record, but at least I feel like I'm going down and I'm not going down silent. So I'm here tonight, not just as a resident of Estancia, but I believe as a voice of many of the families who feel betrayed, frustrated, and angry about the decision to approve the Amcor facility in our neighborhood. Mr. Darwin, you never look at anyone speaking, and that is so disrespectful. This proposal is more than disappointing. It feels like a direct attack on the very qualities that make Estancia a place we are proud to call home. Let's be honest, this monstrosity does not belong in a family community. It belongs in an industrial hub like the Innovation Core, a place that was designed for this type of large-scale operation. Instead, the council has chosen to place it here, right next to where children play and now go to school, where families walk their dogs, where we try to go to the neighborhood restaurants, and where neighbors gather to enjoy peace and safety. We're not just upset, you know what else we are? We're scared. We're scared about what this facility will do to our roads and our traffic. It's already strained and becoming more unsafe during busy hours. If anyone has gone by that charter school when class is starting or when classes are ending, it is insane. Adding industrial trucks into a residential neighborhood is not just inconvenient, it's also dangerous. We are scared about what this plant will emit into the air and into our water. Toxins don't disappear, they spread. And when they do, they impact our health, our children's health, our pets' health, and the long-term well-being of our community. And I'll be honest with you, I'm more scared about what this is going to do to the value of our homes, the largest investments that we ever make. Who would want to move into Estancia when they see an industrial facility looming in our backyard? Our property values will not just stagnate, they're going to decline. And with them, the pride and the stability that we've worked for. This is more than a zoning decision. This is a question of whether the voices of the people of Estancia were even listened to. Do we matter? Whether our health, our safety, or our livelihoods are valued more above the corporate profits and your rushed development. Tonight, I urge you to listen to this entire room, except for a few folks, and really listen to the people you represent. We're not asking for special treatment, guys. We're asking for common sense. Find a location that makes sense, one that promotes growth without sacrificing the well-being of the families who already live here. We chose this community because of what it offered. Don't take that away from us. Don't sacrifice our future for a decision that can and should be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Ms. Shannon Semo.
I have two topics. One, currently being now a homeowner in the South, I'm not sure why there was an extended stay hotel put off of 91st between Peoria and Grand. The area over there was in dire need of help, and I don't know if an extended stay is actually helping the area. It's already a sea of warehouses. Some of them are not even full. It's a food desert. The closest grocery store is really far, and if you've got to walk, it's not a great idea, or you can't, especially in the summer. I understand there are bus lines, but how many groceries can you take with you on the bus reasonably? It was just really disappointing to see the extended stay there, because that area, I understand, is not as wealthy as the North, but I feel like they deserve nice things just as much as anybody else. And it's disappointing to see that and another storage place put. I feel like sometimes if you guys don't know what to do with a piece of land, a storage facility comes in and buys it. The second thing I wanted to say was, I'm asking you on a human level to think about what chip manufacturing ultimately brings to an area and to our lives. Everybody knows the convenience parts. Everybody's in favor of the convenience parts. But like I said before, widespread cell phone usage hasn't really been that long. Has society gotten better or worse? Do you like the idea of everywhere that you go, you're being surveilled, or somebody can bust out a phone and film you and put you on the internet? All of these things impinge on people's quality of life, in my opinion. You may enjoy it. I do not. I'm not a fan. We're all being shuttled into a system where if you don't have this specific type of technology, you are not able to participate in society. And I remember multiple times, I don't have a Facebook account. My kids were on a team. I had to join, or I didn't join Facebook, but I would use other people's Facebooks to find out what was going on. It's just, in the long run, you guys, and these are things that we all have to consider. Chip manufacturing is great, and I'm glad that it's being brought to the United States. However, there are going to be unforeseen consequences, especially if we build it in Peoria over an aquifer or in Vistancia, wherever it could be. It's just not, in my opinion, a good fit. We have other things that I think that we could put here that would be more valuable. What those things are, you guys can feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to share those ideas with you. But chip manufacturing, it's just like Detroit. Everybody put all of their chips in that basket for the Motor City. Arizona's putting all of our chips in the chip basket. I don't know if it is a sustainable idea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Alan Redo.
Hi, my name's Alan Rito. I've spoken here a couple of times. Tonight I've got nothing prepared whatsoever, but I have some galling feelings that need to be discussed. I think you're aware of all the AmCor complaints and concerns, and I echo all those that have been expressed tonight. I really believe that there's a lot there. But it's not just a matter of Vistancia anymore. I think it's all of Peoria. And I think if we proceed on the basis of becoming a mecca for maybe questionable ecological processes or technologies, it's going to send the wrong message out there. I think ultimately it could have a very abject effect on Peoria itself going forward. I'm concerned about that, but more concerned because the forever chemicals getting into the water supply, just being what they are. It may not be Flint, Michigan or Love Canal, but we could end up being in the headlines for the next 100 years because of some bad choices made today. We've got a chance. We have an opportunity to take a stand, and we have an opportunity to do the right thing. And I think that we need to do that. Take the situation in your hands, weigh the facts, weigh the risks, and we can't know them all. I guarantee you cannot know the risks of what you're going forth here. I've worked in high-tech companies. I've seen little spills that turn into big headaches, and it doesn't take much. So I'm asking each one of you, in whatever capacity you have, to try to influence the outcome of this, to move Amcor into some sort of a safer space for one thing, and then possibly look for other ways to mitigate the threat to our environment. If there's any way to do that, let's get it going, and let's get the discussions going outside to make sure that for Amcor and anybody else coming into this community, they've got the facilities to be able to work forward without risking jeopardizing our health and our children's health. That's what's on my mind. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for your comments, sir. Karen Bridgman.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and citizens of Peoria. As you know, we are very, very against putting Amcor next to a school. Amcor will be polluting our water and our air with serious PFAS. These are cancer-causing PFAS. They're especially dangerous to children. The PFAS are in our bloodstream forever and never, ever break down, and that's why it's so important to keep the children away from this. Going to school next to a factory is pulling and polluting their air. I recently read an article from several law firms comparing the PFAS to asbestos. I'm sure you all know what happened to people with asbestos that inhaled that. I know for a fact because my dad was breathing in the asbestos in his lungs, and he died from mesothelioma. I read that Peoria is now collecting millions of dollars from 3M and other companies that are polluting our water. So are we going to let this happen again? What is wrong with us? This shouldn't be happening to us. We should never have voted for us. Now I understand that 2 city wells are offline and being tested that the federal limits are way off on the PFAS. Our water is precious, and Amcor will be using at least 2 million gallons of water a day. We all know that Arizona has serious water shortages. We are all depending on this water to live. We cannot pollute our water. When I moved here 4 years ago, we were told that 5 North would be a Kierland-like area, places for everybody to enjoy. Fun, family, walking trails, things to do, maybe even a hospital, which we desperately need. Who voted for this change? We are the citizens that live here and pay taxes, pay your salaries, but nobody asked us. The noise, congestion, pollution, say no to Amcor. We do not want it in Vistancia, the #1 planned community in the state. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Lori Granger.
My name is Lori Granger. My husband and I moved to Trilogy at Vistancia 4 years ago. We didn't plan to move to Arizona. We owned a beautiful home a block from the beach in Southern California and loved raising our daughters there. I honestly never thought I'd leave California, and had it not been for Gavin Newsom, the way he destroyed our once magnificent state, we would have lived there happily the rest of our lives. In 2021, we came to Arizona for the weekend to visit a friend whose favorite pastime was touring model homes. Our first and ultimately only stop was Trilogy at Vistancia. We fell in love at first sight with this beautiful community. Everything about it felt perfect. The grounds were gorgeous. The people who were in similar stages in their lives as us were friendly. The amenities and social opportunities were endless. So after 45 years in Southern California, on a whim, we purchased a home in Trilogy and moved in 30 days. We looked forward to spending our semi and retirement years surrounded by the peace and beauty of the desert landscapes and far away from Gavin Newsom's reckless control. Till now. It's astonishing to me that just one power-hungry individual with a personal agenda, whether that's Gavin Newsom or Jason Beck, I don't know, can be allowed to make decisions that negatively impact the lives of so many others. I truly believe that every one of you know that allowing the Amcor chip factory or any other factory to be built in the heart of our tranquil resort-style communities is wrong, for the many reasons you've heard ad nauseum. In my opinion, the thousands of residents in Vistancia that will have to live with the sight of the atrocity, that will be affected by the lights and noise 24/7, that will be stuck in traffic with 2,000 additional cars, will never know for certain if the water we're drinking, cooking with, and bathing our children with is safe, deserve to know what you're all getting in return for our safety, security, and peace of mind. What was the number that you sold us out for? Was there ever a point in this horrible plan where you considered Amcor's needs and demands unreasonable to and for the residents of Vistancia? Was there a line in your mind that Amcor wouldn't be able to cross? How much would have been too much? If a 118-foot tall, 2.7 million square foot, poison-emitting, water-guzzling factory sharing space with our children isn't enough, then just what would it take, Mayor Beck and City Council, for you to just say no to Amcor, but hell no to Amcor? I can only conclude that what you all have to gain in your minds justifies your ruthless and blatant disregard for the citizens you vowed to represent.
Megan Staub.
Okay, so January 8th, 2025, that was only 9 months ago, that Vistancia residents became aware of what exactly a semiconductor packing plant is. It's way more than just putting the microchips into a box, which we all kind of originally thought. It's a complex process using chemicals. And we learned at that same meeting 9 months ago just how big the Amcor factory will be. Greater than 2+ million square feet and 118 feet tall, more than 4 times the size that was initially presented in meetings where the council voted on development agreements. It's been 9 months. In those 9 months, we've learned that a significant portion of the land that Amcor will sit on is not zoned for industrial type buildings based on the Loop 303 specific area plan. This plan has never been repealed, just mysteriously removed from the Vistancia PCD in 2023. Residents have voiced this concern over and over again. Residents have written emails, showed up to city council meetings, held protests and informational events, and talked with the press and tried to get the attention of both the city and Amcor. And it seemed for months that all this went on deaf ears, but perhaps, just maybe, we have gotten through that Vistancia is not an appropriate location for an industrial factory. We're hearing rumblings that the city is working to move Amcor to the PIC, which would be a very welcome development if it should be true. While not perfect or ideal, it is a more suitable location for Amcor than Vistancia is. Our ask is quite simple. Keep Amcor out of Estancia and out of a residential area next to a school and park. As well, require Amcor to build its own closed loop water system. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Mr. John Forsyth.
Happy birthday, Ms. Goodwin. I guess the question should be, can you hear the people now? This government is not of the people, by the people, and especially for the people. We've heard it again tonight. I warned everybody last year that this democracy was under attack by Jason Beck. Without a shot being fired or anyone paying attention, he has overthrown an American Jeffersonian democracy. There has only been one no vote this entire calendar year from this council. That's not a democracy, that's a dictatorship. You're not listening to the people. This council is out of control. Ms. Crawford, your husband reached out to me privately through Facebook. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but a former police chief used one word: disturbing. Mr. Edwards, your wife reached out to me publicly on Facebook. She called me mentally deranged.
Excuse me,
That's
Mayor,
unacceptable. Mr. Bullock, you told me that I need to be intellectually honest. Let's do it right now. You said that you spent months researching projects. You don't speak to the people. You don't keep us informed. You give us, Darwin gives us 24 hours notice that something's going to come up on the agenda. How can the public research something in 24 hours? How can you determine our opinion, what we want you to vote in 24 hours? This isn't a democracy. This is a pseudo-dictatorship. You call yourselves leaders because politicians love to over-embellish. The Constitution calls you elected representatives, elected officials. That is it. Let me read you the definition of a bully. A bully is a blistering, mean, or predatory person who, from a perceived position of relative power, intimidates, abuses, harasses, or coerces people, especially those considered unlikely to defend themselves. I guess Peoria is a little bit harder of a town to crack than Beck thought it was going to be. You believe you know better than the people? No, you don't. Not a government of, by, and for the people. It's not the way it works. The people of Peoria are tired of this mayor and council bullying us. Americans are getting tired all over this country. We are standing up and saying enough is enough. We're no longer going to be bullied, and we demand that our voices be heard. You have no one to blame but yourselves for not representing the will of the people. The people are pissed. This is our government. This is not Beck's government. This is not the kingdom of Beck. We are taking our city back starting today.
There being no further business, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.